Here at the University of Chicago. And we show this because this is the beautiful campus where nearly all of the classes in the Graduate Student at Large program are based. And so this is where you would join us if you decide to apply and get into the program. Over the course of the next hour, we want to welcome you, give you an introduction to who we are, give you a snapshot of Graduate Student at Large, talk about the timeline and details should you want to become a candidate, and then answer your questions. And so let me start by sharing that I'm Seth Green. I'm the dean here at the University of Chicago Graham School. And this is a very special part of our school. Graduate Student at Large is actually the oldest program. It dates back all the way to close to the founding of the university. And it was part of the university's commitment to extending the intellectual assets of our university to individuals who wanted to come into the university, but through non-traditional paths. And that continues to be a core focus today for students who may need to add to their curriculum as they apply to graduate school, or for students who want to test out and try different programs before making a decision. And with that, let me turn it over to my wonderful colleague, Esther, who directs the program, to introduce herself.
Hello and welcome. So, we're very happy to meet you today, many of you for the very first time. We welcome you, and I hope this is just the first conversation we're having. And I hope you will each follow up with me so I can help you to see if our programs might be helpful for you in your professional and academic careers. Thank you.
You'll also meet in a little bit Cole Simner. Cole is actually finishing a final exam right now, but he is an alum of GSAL that then went on to become a student in our master's in computer science here at the university. And finally, you'll hear from Suraj. And Suraj is actually a GSAL B alumnus who is now a consultant at McKinsey, which is coincidentally my former firm. Suraj, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Definitely, Dean. Thank you for having me again. My name is Suraj. I went through the GSAL B program now 5 years ago, which is really hard to believe that time flies by. I went from the program into my doing my Booth MBA in the part-time program. I was an evening student in Chicago. And then during that same time, I was working at McKinsey as a consultant. Actually, I left a couple months ago to join an AI
Wow,
startup in Los
wonderful.
Angeles. So yeah, did my time at the firm, really enjoyed it. But GSLB was like a great start for me for when I first moved to Chicago. It was sort of like a good network, a great community to be a part of, and really helped prepare me for the part-time MBA.
Wonderful. Well, I'm going to go through now a snapshot of GSOL, and then we're going to come back to Suraj and Cole to hear more about their experience before we come to your questions. So, if you're in this virtual room, you probably already have a sense that GSOL is really about a graduate experience where you can take classes across the entire university and you can forge deep relationships with faculty, engage in thought-provoking exchange, and then have access to the full resources of the university while getting credit without committing in advance to the exact graduate degree that you're going to pursue. And there is really a three-part value that we see to this opportunity. The first is that you are able to take UChicago graduate courses to add to your experience set and to get formal grades and an official UChicago transcript. You also are able to build relationships that can lead to letters of recommendation for potential graduate applications and study. And then you have access to the GSAL team, which includes personalized advising to support your course selection and also help you to prepare for the full graduate program that may ultimately interest you. In terms of who graduate student at large students typically are, there are three different types. One is a group that wants to study anywhere in the university and wants to look across different potential disciplines for their future, or to add specific courses to their background. For example, if they're pursuing a graduate degree that might have certain prerequisites. A second group are students that are thinking about business in particular and wanting to explore courses at Chicago Booth, and that's called our GSAL Business program. And then we have a final area for people that want to return to the university as lifelong learners. That's called returning scholars. That actually has a lower cost and is non-credit. You're an auditor. You can complete the work, but it's not graded. And that tends to be for people that may be in midlife or beyond and wanting to return to the academic atmosphere of the university, take these classes alongside often undergrad or graduate students, but do so without having the burden of grades and really doing it for the love of learning itself. In terms of where our students go after they finish, a very large number go on to graduate study, and 36% in total, so more than a third, actually go on to pursue a specific postgraduate degree at the University of Chicago. In terms of how this can potentially fit into your picture, we really think of GSAL, which is the program where you're going across the university, as an opportunity to sample 4 credit classes anywhere in the university. The only 2 areas not included are the medical school, even though biological sciences is included, specifically medical school classes are not. And then Booth has that separate GSAL B program. So the rest of GSAL is for any of the other schools and divisions of the university and any area of study. Alongside accessing the class, you can access an abundance of UChicago resources, including our libraries and fitness center. And then you have full access to the extracurricular and co-curricular activities here, including networking opportunities with influential professionals and gaining exposure to our esteemed faculty. GSAL B is very similar in nature, but here you're taking classes specifically at Booth. And in the case of GSAL B, 3 courses can actually transfer directly to Chicago Booth if you apply and are admitted into the Booth MBA program. And this is all with our faculty, whether it's GSAL or GSAL B, that are Nobel Prize winning and that are moving fields forward alongside being excellent educators. In terms of the characteristics that we find in our GSAL and frankly all UChicago students, we look for people that are insatiably curious, who really want to dive deep and engage in rigorous exchange, who are innovative and asking frontier questions, and who are collaborative, who want to work with their peers in the process of open exchange and joint inquiry. So that is a high-level picture of GSAL. And before we go into the timeline and details, I'm going to take my screen down here because I would love to have a conversation starting with Suraj, and then we'll bring in Cole as well to think about how GSAL has actually influenced your experience. And I'm just going to add some spotlights here so that we can have them on screen. Hello again, Suraj. So Suraj, I want to start to hear about your experience in this program. And let me maybe ask, you talked about this a little bit, but what motivated you originally to apply to GSAL B, and how did it fit into your long-term academic and career goals?
Definitely, Dean. So I would say for myself, I was very targeted with the reason that I wanted to try out the GSLV program, and that reason was to get credit from the program and eventually apply to Booth, the business school. So for me, I was curious. I just moved to Chicago from California, didn't have much of a community, and I was exploring like Northwestern, UChicago, some of the top business programs in the country and on the planet. And GSLB seemed like a good introduction to part-time school while also trying using it as an assessment to see like whether or not I could balance that. And on top of that, you earn that credit, which to me is like the most valuable thing. So it's not just courses that you can take and you gain the knowledge, like Dean said, you gain the network as well, networking with professors, but you also have credit at the end of that course. And that was really, really valuable for me. So because it fit those criteria of like a strong network and ultimately resulting in credit, which I can use towards like the future degree, those were the primary reasons.
Awesome. And then talk about what you found most valuable in your GSOL experience in kind of shaping your academic and professional journey.
Absolutely. So for me, I was curious about the rigor of UChicago. Again, an incredible institution. I heard that the coursework can be difficult, challenging, but also very fulfilling at the same time. So I was genuinely curious to see what the rigor of the coursework would be. And on top of that, I was really looking forward to meeting some of the professors, Booth professors, as with professors from every other department are world renowned in their studies and their research. So I was very excited about that. And really what's special about this program and what it offers you, and being able to like put you directly in the classroom is being able to sit and talk to those professors, and for some of at least the booth courses, they're not huge. So you're you know one of I think a max of maybe 60 students if I remember correctly in some of these courses, and you really get that one-on-one time with the professor when you like it. I eventually ended up going on to get two letters of recommendation from out of the three GSALB courses. I bothered two professors enough to where they wrote me those letters. But really being able to learn from them, it's top notch. You really can get that. I feel like there's very few places where you can get that nowadays.
And can you talk more about the classroom experience? What was it like? Did you feel like you were in a different place as a GSOL student than other students in the class, or did you feel fully integrated?
That's a great question. You really genuinely feel fully integrated as a student. There's no distinguishment. There's no, GSAL students get it a little bit easier or something where you don't have to do some of the assignments. You are what feels like a 100% student of the program that you're in, the department that you're in. And even after I got closer to some of the professors and talked to them, they told me that a couple of them had told me that they actually prefer GSAL students in some cases as far as participation goes because we're really involved. I mean, we're there like to learn, we're there to get a good grade in the class. So they look forward to the experience, but really you're 100% a booth student, it feels like at that point.
Well, Cole, we want to bring you into this conversation. First, congratulations on finishing your final. And following that final, we want to hear, all about you and your experience. And so can you just tell us a little bit about your background, what motivated you to come to GSOL, and then where you are now in the Master's in Computer Science?
Yeah, so I wanted to get more technical education. I was working in tech before GSAL. If you don't have a CS degree, I feel like working in tech can be an uphill battle, for lack of a better explanation. And GSAL, like, because I didn't do engineering undergrad, so coming to GSAL was really like an opportunity to learn engineering skills and to kind of prove that I could do the thing before I applied to graduate school programs. And I just took the last final of my computer science master's degree, computational geometry and approximation algorithms. Very stressful.
Great. Well, and can you talk a little bit about how GSOL shaped your experience to get there?
Yeah, so I think really it was just first just like getting in the classroom, like as Suraj said, the opportunity to participate, like meet professors, get a sense for like what the program was going to be like. Um, I think in my case, like I've always been big on participation. So getting an opportunity to just like have professors know who I am was big for me. Like coming into the CS program, like there was actually a professor who thought I was like just a normal student and actually like had invited me to some research lectures. And like when I came to apply for the program, like there were professors that already knew who I was and they were like, "Oh yeah, like you should be here," or like here are some classes we think you should take. So really I think when it came to applying for actually like the CS program, I like it was kind of like a no-brainer. People knew who I was, and I think that helped.
And can you talk a little bit about how your decisions in GSOL may have influenced your decision to apply to graduate school in the first place? I mean, did it shape, kind of how you thought about, I mean, Suraj, in your case, were you sure you wanted to go to Booth and then did this and got there, or was it influential? And same, Cole, did it kind of make clear that computer science was ultimately the right degree for you?
Yeah, so I took classes across a couple of departments. I like audited a bunch of lectures. I had seen a bunch of things. Um, I had told some advisors of mine that I was like thinking about applying to different programs and I wasn't too sure what was right for me. But I think being in the classroom setting, in different departments and then talking to those professors like, about their research or about the coursework kind of like solidified my decision for what program to apply for. You know, it's kind of like picking a major, so to speak. And like I got to take like a lot of my questions about the program and the various programs like to the professors in those departments and like alumni and just kind of ask them what they thought and then they were like, yeah, you should probably apply for X or Y or Z. So
Awesome. And Suraj, I mean, you got two recommendations out of three, so you were clearly in touch a lot. Was this something that also shaped your decision, or was it that you knew this decision and this just helped you to get there?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dean. For me, actually had a bit of an opposite path to Cole, where my
Yeah.
undergrad was in a technical subject, and for me, frankly, I always thought business was maybe it's a little bit too fluffy. I didn't know how difficult it would be, and honestly, in the past, I had actually started like a grad program. I took a couple courses online, and it just was not for me. I found it so like just kind of boring, frankly. So. I was a little skeptical, but after talking to Esther, it seemed like the right program. And after joining it, I can be very honest in saying that Booth, for example, it is not easy. There is no fluff. It is a highly it's a difficult program, but you get so much out of it. I mean, if you're trading off your time and money to be there, in my experience, it was absolutely worth it because I was challenged in these courses. You're forced. Booth is speaking again specifically for the GSAL program. Booth takes a very community approach to like learning, where will always be at least one group project in a course. So really, the rigor is what I was looking for. It was there, and like I mentioned, getting to learn from some of these intellectual powerhouses is it's a really one of a kind experience, and that ultimately made me decide like this is a grad program, a degree program that I would like to pursue.
Well, so Suraj and Cole, you're two examples of our extraordinary student body. I mean, Esther, can we come to you? Can you talk about the different types of students that seek out GSOL, just to give a picture for everyone of all the different reasons people come through our doors?
So this is good. Thank you so much. So we have students who come straight from undergrad, after maybe a year or two, and who are not really sure about which areas to apply for graduate school. And so Graduate Student at Large is a wonderful experience to come and see, is it psychology or is it social work? Is it political science or is it public policy? So to really test out all those nuances, our wonderful program affords that opportunity. And again, remember, it's not randomly taking classes. We work closely with you. We work closely with the department. So you will have conversations with those graduate departments to learn more about the subject fields. You will learn about academic workshops because the more you listen and the more you sort of exchange ideas, the more sure you will be about the subject area you would like to pursue. So we have students who are exploring early part of their careers. Then we have students who really want to switch fields, right? People who've had 5 to maybe 7 years of work experience and who come and tell me, Esther, I've been in sort of, data analytics for all these years of my life, but I really don't want to do that. I want to switch fields. And so we will work with you to sort of see, what do you want to do? Like, for instance, Cole said, he actually needed more training in a particular field. Or as Suraj said, I really want to learn about leadership and how can I be a better leader. And so that was an example to try courses at Chicago Booth. So we have people who are switching fields as well. And we also have people who have worked for 15, 20 years who need to be upskilled, right? In this world in 2026, in areas in professional development. So what would those areas be like? Everything is AI. So maybe to come and sort of experience a few courses in AI, whether it's going to be in computer science or statistics, wherever that might reside, we will work with you. But again, as I shared, this is not a remedial program. So this is not something to come to say, I really, really didn't do well in my undergraduate and now I'm trying to catch up. This is not really a catch-up program. This is for you to fill in the gaps in terms of subject area, but you should be able to do rigorous work. And we need to be confident because your classmates will either be upper level University of Chicago college students or master's or PhD students who are in these classrooms, right? So you need to be able to do the work, to answer the questions, and to be able to receive those A's or A minuses or B pluses. Because one thing we know at the University of Chicago, they really grade fairly and honestly, and we don't want any student to receive a C or a C minus. So that's why we need to be confident that students in our GSAL and GSALB programs are able to do the work and able to do the 4-credit work and get the grades that hopefully we can use as transfer credit for the master's or PhD programs.
And Esther, to come back to you, I know that we do some of that work by making sure that students are ready.
Yes.
And then you do a lot of work to support students once they're in the program. Can you
Yes.
just talk through the different supports so that students know they're not alone in that endeavor, but they're getting the support so that they can thrive in the classroom?
Absolutely. So it's a very intensive, high touch academic advising model. So it's a little bit like it's a white glove experience. So although you are graduate students, we will work closely with you. I have a wonderful advising colleague, and together we will get to know you. From the moment of the admissions interview, we will study your transcript with you. We will study your own goals, and we will work with you and connect you to departments, to departmental advisors, to faculty, and we will literally week by week work with you so you are super comfortable in the first class that you register with. Now, we also work very closely with our Dean of Students, and we have a comprehensive student support network, which includes advisors and coaches across the University of Chicago who can work with you from things like time management and sort of like do I need additional coaching and how to write a wonderful graduate level paper. We will connect you to coaches all across the University of Chicago, so you're never alone. We also have a strong GSAL community made up of current students, new students, returning students, wonderful alumni like Suraj. And we literally, right, many times a quarter, we will meet together. So it's not just social, but it's networking. So you're really learning about what should I know about being a successful student at the University of Chicago? I need a little bit more sort of help getting into these areas for work. The alumni will join us and help us. And remember, you're not just a GSAL student, you're a graduate student at the University of Chicago. So we will connect you to events, to different things that are happening on campus. So you will also then establish for yourself different groups and networks of support systems that you will have. But primarily, it is your advising team that will really get to know you and make sure. So from the time you come in to the point we help you apply to graduate schools, whether it's at the University of Chicago or beyond, and then help track your success to the next steps.
Wonderful. Well, before I go back to share a bit more information, Suraj and Cole, can you just talk about what those resources mean in your experience? Are they helpful? Did they shape your trajectory? Cole, can we start with you now that your light is back on?
Yeah, I think the resources like really helped shape my trajectory just because like you can talk to Esther at pretty much any time you need to. Like she's very available, which is phenomenal. You get access to all the UChicago, university resources. So like there's lots of things that you can just plug into. Like you can pretty much walk into like any building on campus and just figure out what they're doing and see if you want to be involved in it. Yeah, I think it's a lot of it also just comes down to like personal agency. And if you want to go do something, you should just try and go do it, but also like the resources are made available so that anything that you do want to go do, you're not like inhibited from accessing. So it's kind of it's a two-way street.
Raj, anything to add?
I would say that if I recall correctly, the 5 years ago when I first interviewed for GSAL with Esther, one of the first questions she asked me is, "What is your goal? Like, what do you want out of this program?" And I can really say that Esther as a resource and as well as everyone else as part of the GSAL faculty really curate that experience for you. If you tell them that your goal is to upskill, they will make sure that you're taking the right courses. If you tell them that your goal is to get admission to Booth, that's ultimately what I want, or another grad program at UChicago or elsewhere. They like it is such a curated experience. And along the way, now that I'm reflecting on it, I remember like I'm taking these courses because I took 3 classes through GSLB. And along the way, I remember Esther asking me like every couple weeks or so, like, how's the class? Are you talking to the professors? Are we like get those letters of rec? So it really is a program that is separate to a lot of the more bureaucratic programs that I experienced, at least my time in undergrad. It is not like that at all. It's a smaller community, and as a result, it really feels like a white glove touch in order to help you achieve whatever goal you have.
Well, I want to come to your questions in our audience, but let me just share my screen again, walk through the timeline and details briefly, and then we will come to questions. So, as you hopefully have gotten a sense, there are a lot of supports in GSAL. We have academic advising, grad school application support, and then resources like the library, a vibrant alumni network, and virtual events. If you decide you want to be part of this community, then the application deadline is June 2nd if you are an international applicant, and that is because we need to make sure that we have everything in place for potential visa and other needs. And it is September 2nd if you are here in the United States. That is to be in a place where you are ready for class on September 28th, the first day of our autumn quarter in 2026. The reason that even though if you're domestic and you see September, you should start working on this now is that the application is a significant process. You have the application itself that includes a lot of details. You have the statement of purpose that you need to write and explain what your goals are. You'll need to include your resume or CV, transcripts. If you are not a native English speaker, you'll need to include a TOEFL or IELTS score so that we're confident that you will be able to engage fully in the classroom experience. There is an application fee, and then there is an interview that we do to make sure everyone is really ready for the graduate student at large experience. In terms of cost, the cost of the program for next year is $4,785 per course. And then there's a student services fee. For GSAL, the cost is the same as it is at Booth, which is $8,910. And then there are a couple of small fees for application and lifetime transcript. Importantly, there are many employers who will reimburse, and so we strongly encourage you to check your employer's tuition reimbursement benefits. There are also loans available, especially if you're taking 2 or more classes, then federal loans become available as well. We're also pleased that we have scholarships available. And one reason to apply early is that the earlier you apply, you can come into the application process in a time when that philanthropy may still be available. It does tend to be used by the time we get to the application deadline itself. And with that, let me take down my screen because we are now ready for your questions. What do you want to know from Esther, Suraj, and Cole? You can do one of 3 things. We have an intimate group. One is you can chat in your question using the chat function. A second is that you can use in the React tab you can press on the bottom of the React tab, raise hand. And then finally, we will allow you now to unmute yourselves and you can just shout out your questions. So let me pause there, and usually takes a few seconds for someone to speak up or chat up. But there we go. Mayank, Kakar, get us started. Let me make sure that you have the ability to unmute, which you do. Great. Go for it, Mayank.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be with you all, and thanks so much for having me. I am calling from attending this event from Ohio, and I am based in the US, and so I'm in the Eastern time zone. So yeah, it's great. I mean, of course, like I said, UChicago has always been a dream for me, and I hope, I believe that this program is going to be a pathway for me to realize that, and I can definitely explore this option at this point, and it's just wonderful. So I just had this quick question that so like an international student, if I pursue a program at GSAL, the requirement for I think international students is at least a minimum of 9 credits. So that would of course still apply, right? And so what does that mean in terms of cost per course? The course is then how many credits? And so then for one semester, how much cost would that be? I'm just trying to calculate that.
Yeah. So it's a great question. And so, Esther, jump in here as well. But you are right. To be an international student with the visa, you would be in a place where you should be taking 3 classes. So that cost of the 4,800 or so would be multiplied by 3. When students are taking more classes, we do take that financial commitment into account as we award scholarship. So it would be possible for you to receive significant scholarship to try to make that accessible to you. Each scholarship application is considered on its own, so I can't give you an answer to what that number would be, but that's certainly something that we take into account, and we very much value the opportunity to have international students. Esther works very closely with them, and so it is a priority for us. And Esther, I don't know if you want to say anything more.
Absolutely. Thank you, Seth. Yes, absolutely. Everything that our dean has said. In addition, Mayank, I'm not sure what visa you are on now, but we do have students who are on optional practical training, who have completed their first degree and who intend to use their optional practical training time. And for that, you're considered, you don't need to take 3 courses. So then you would just take 1 class at a time. You'd on during your optional practical training time, which is usually for 12 months. Having said that, if you need a J1 student visa from us, remember the idea for graduate student at large is not to be just adding on classes quarter after quarter. So maximum maybe 2 quarters. So that would mean a maximum of 6 classes. And again, we will work very closely because again, this is not an idea of just adding classes, because remember, a short professional master's degree here at the University of Chicago is 9 courses. So therefore, maximum of 3, maybe 4 classes, and then we need to apply to the master's degree. So keep that in mind, and we can definitely talk, one-on-one in terms of what visa you're on and how best we can support you.
Sure, of course. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, please go ahead.
Yeah, of course. That's really, really helpful. And yeah, we'll talk more about my visa status and my goals, and specifically the courses that I'm looking for. And yeah, of course, just a quick follow-up question on that. Is it possible, so I would also end up having some courses at the GSAL B.
Yes,
so
yes.
it might be a bit more on the expensive side. I saw
yes.
So go ahead.
Yes. So if you're on OPT, you can end up taking 1 GSAL B class, right, every quarter, just like our other domestic students. But if you need a J1 international visa, then you would have to be enrolled in 3 business school classes, because you're either in GSAL, which is non-booth classes, or GSAL B. So you have to choose quarter by quarter. You can't be in both classes in 1 quarter. Hope that makes sense.
Oh, okay. So I cannot mix and match. I cannot pick and choose from one
No.
class. Yeah, okay. I have to stick with one each
Yes.
class. And just a quick follow-up. So like on what like side does the math classes fall? Math and statistics, does that fall?
Math and statistics will be GSAL because that will be in the physical sciences division, which is statistics, computer science, mathematics. But we at the University of Chicago, you're not allowed graduate math classes. So only undergraduate math classes. But for statistics, computer science, if you have the right prerequisites and the department and the faculty grant approval and permissions, we can get you a seat in those classes.
Yeah, sure, of course. I mean, yeah, I'd love to like you said, it's a wonderful. The most wonderful thing about this thing is it's very high touch. So yeah, I would look forward to that experience of that high touch, and then we'll talk more about my specific goals. And this was really helpful. That I mean, of course, I can take like math classes, even though yeah, of course, they are rigorous. So I mean, of course, graduate level will be, I mean, out of like impossible, I guess. Would be very much.
It's just graduate math courses are not permitted. So it's undergraduate math, but undergraduate stats and computer science, but with the right relevant prerequisites, you may take graduate level courses in those areas.
Right. Of course, the goal is, sorry, just to finish off, the goal is to score an A. And I mean, yeah, of course, I should be taking those courses wherein I can excel very easily, very, very easily. I mean, so of course, that is, yeah, keeping that in mind. So yeah, of course, yeah, we'll talk. Thank you.
Mayank, thank you so much for those
Looking
questions.
forward, yes.
I see Shariam's hand. Let me just go to Bernard Bakulis's question. Can you speak more to the recurring scholars track? Yeah, so I mean, Esther, do you want to talk about returning scholars briefly?
Absolutely. So returning scholars is the third program. So we've talked about graduate student at large. We've talked about graduate student at large business. The third is returning scholars. This is the program that allows formal auditing. So what does that mean? That means you're taking a class not for credits, not for grades. So this is, again, you get our transcript, but instead of a letter grade, you will get an R for audit. So, and these classes, many of our departments, specifically in the STEM field, like computer science, math, all of those, you are not allowed to audit classes. So in certain areas, I would say areas like humanities, some in the social sciences, maybe in religious studies, divinity, a few areas will allow auditing. So it's really just to sit in the class and to feel sort of edified by the experience, right? Because you can't use this class for professional development, and you can't use this class for any future graduate school applications. So therefore, we do have students sometimes who don't need any more graduate degrees, who don't need professional development, but who just want to enjoy the classroom, to have those conversations. And those are the students who will be taking those classes.
Other questions? I know we're coming to time in a moment. Actually, usually go till about 45 after. All right. Well, I don't see any. We thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to continuing the conversation.
Sorry, Dean. I think there was maybe one more question. Shriram, were you asking a question?
Oh yeah, no. Thanks a lot. Yeah. I thought it would go until 2, but my mistake. Yeah, it was just a small. I'm kind of stuck in the crossroads where I'm a math major, but I think later down my math career in my undergraduate, I kind of felt like a more connection to people in the humanities building with the humanities professors, and it's like I may want to go into pure math graduate school, or if I want to get a master's, I might want to take something like the computational social sciences. And to me, it's yeah, and I was just wondering, may GSAL work where it's like I may want to go into pure math graduate school or a master's program in something that's humanities as well as computational related.
Yeah. I mean, so Esther, do you want to talk to this? Certainly,
Absolutely.
It could be a potential bridge for you.
Again, right? Math is just not an option here. So it would mean then that even computational social sciences, it has to be a good fit, right? In terms of, because there aren't many pre-courses, we have to be very, very sure that the fit is right for those areas. So yes, I mean, again, we can talk offline in terms of your particular situation. But for math, right, we are very particular that students have to be ready to sort of apply directly to graduate math courses, and there should be a real interest in areas of computer science and statistics to pivot. But we can talk offline, Sriram.
Yeah, thanks for that, and yeah, hope you have a great day then.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, let me close by saying, Suraj and Cole, thank you for being our ambassadors and sharing your stories. Esther, thank you for being the spectacular director of this program that, as Cole and Suraj have said, really were so influential in their trajectories. I mean, Suraj and Cole, can I ask you for closing words here? Anything you want to leave our group with related to what GSAL has meant to you? Go for it, Cole. Get us started.
I think it's really just about community and the opportunity to be curious. So if you want to be curious, I think this is the best place to be curious.
Suraj, final words?
Yeah, absolutely. Similar to what Cole said, I agree. And at the same time, if you have goals to like join the University of Chicago in some capacity, this is an excellent way to try that out. See if you feel like you fit in, if you could handle the rigor, because ultimately, like I mentioned, you're trading off your time and money. It's an incredible institution to be a part of, and I think that this is a really one of the best opportunities to get a taste for that and see if you'll enjoy it.
Well, thank you all again for joining us to learn more. Thank you, Suraj and Cole, for being our role models. Thank you, Esther, for leading, and hope everyone has a great afternoon.